Thank you all so much for coming today. Today we have Mr.Heckel speaking. He's going to be speaking on life decisions. It's going to be really cool. Oh yeah. Alright, so did everyone get an index card? If you don't have an index card, raise your hand real quick. Right, can we get the index cards? We're out of index cards. Alright, so if you just have a piece of paper, then be able to, so everyone has paper where it's cool. So, so write down anything that you learn or get out of this lecture, or something that you feel you've learned about Mr. Heckel, or about life in general, or just things you got out of this lecture. So they are for our benefit as well as his. So if you're like, wow, this was rad, tell him that because he gets to see him. And if you're like, wow, I hated this, don't tell him that because he gets to see him.
No, please tell me. It's all about being honest and learning. And you don't learn anything by being sheltered. That's what the whole thing is about. But you don't learn anything by sheltering yourself, especially from difficult things and like scary things. So if you hate this, please let me. Just don't put your name on it, right? So that I don't hate you. But if you hate it, tell me you hate it. I gotta learn, right? That's how we learn. We learn stuff by doing things that don't make us feel good.
All right. So if you hate it, tell me you hate it. All right. So without further ado, thank you so much. Here is Mr. Heckel.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. It's funny, Ethan mentioned this earlier, I was shooting for triple digits. I didn't quite get there. So Mr. McCullough still is the reigning champion. I was pumping it hard too. But I just couldn't make it there. So thank you so much for coming. I have a couple of notes here, but I'll probably be going all over the place. And I was telling Madame Lozano earlier that really what I want to talk about is the need to be lost and afraid. So I was telling my wife this last night, like this is what I was going to be talking about, the need to be lost and afraid. And so I intentionally didn't script that much so that I'm kind of walking without a neck here and being a little bit afraid. So that's okay. What I wanted to do before I started, I didn't realize what the setup would be. So I actually had a couple pictures that I was going to share with you of myself as a 22-year-old. Because I wanted to illustrate someone who was super afraid, someone who was like deathly scared of the experiences that he was having. So if you want to see those pictures, let me know. I happily show them to you. One picture is me on a boat, fresh-faced, clean-shaven. Imagine that. Going from Calais, France to Dover, England, across it's a ferry across the English Channel. And the other picture is a picture of me sitting on a couch in Kyrgyzstan with a rug behind me, about halfway through my Peace Corps service, and I wanted to introduce you to that guy and talk a little bit about why some of those things I hold so dear to myself, and why I think that some of those experiences, like you could learn from some of those experiences. So I'll talk a little bit first about like my 22-year-old self. So Eric Heckel at 22 decided in my infinite wisdom that the best thing to do with my last semester of college was not go. So I had figured out that I had enough credits, so this is probably like November of my senior year of college, that I actually had enough credits to just graduate right then. And so I decided that's what I was going to do. I applied for graduation and got all my credits lined up, and just didn't go my last semester of my senior year of college, and took the money that I would have used to pay for classes and housing and things like that, and bought a round-trip ticket to London, a 16-day British Rail Pass, and then a 2-month Eurail Pass, and went by myself. I had no friends that went with me. I packed one big backpack, put it in there, and I had basically like this size travel book that came with me. I think it was like Lonely Planet's Guide to Europe. So it was like 900 pages of Western Europe that I put in my backpack. And that was pretty much it. I'd done a little bit of foresight, a little bit of planning in terms of like where I was going to stay, and I got a hostel card and that sort of thing. But that was about it. And I just thought, I'm just going to go, right? And so I landed in London, and immediately I realized I have no idea where anything is. Like, I'm completely lost. I have no clue. how to get anywhere or do anything. And all I have is this little book, right? And so I make my way, through 3 months of Europe in this manner. And so a couple of cities like really stand out in my mind in terms of like learning from this experience or just being in this experience, right? So I can remember going to Paris, right? England wasn't that bad because at least I could speak the language. Right? At least everyone spoke English. Paris was my next stop, and so I can remember getting out of the train station in Paris and not having any clue where then I needed to go. So imagine this, right? It's the land before Facebook. Facebook does not exist. The internet is barely around, right? I'm staying with a friend of a friend that I have never met and who has never met me. We've never actually corresponded. So I'm staying with this girl who's doing a Fulbright in Paris, who has no clue what I look like. I have no clue what she looks like. All I have is a paper street address for somewhere in Paris that this girl lives in, and I'm standing there at the train station in like the north of Paris, and I've got to get to this location from wherever I am. And all I have, mind you, all I have is a map about this big inside of the Lonely Planet Europe 2003 guidebook to get me to that street location. So here I walked legitimately for 4 hours, just lost, out of my mind, lost, trying to get to this place. Down alleys, and I've got a 50-pound backpack on my back as well. So it's like imperative by the end that I find this place because I've got to take this backpack. It's killing me. I've got to take this backpack. So I'm wandering around, just completely lost and super scared. Like, what am I gonna do? That thought starts to cross your mind after about 2.5 hours of being lost and walking around these random streets in Paris. Okay, I have no other lodging lined up. Right? I have no other place to stay other than this girl's apartment. I know no one here. I don't have a phone, right? There's like no cell phone here. Don't have any like access to like computers, right? So again, this is land before smartphones, land before cell phones, which is probably hard to imagine, right? Probably very hard to imagine. But you're just there in the moment. And so that was super scary. I mean, eventually I found it, right? Nothing bad happened because I'm here talking to you about it. But having to figure it out, that was crazy, right? Having to navigate my way from the north of Paris, then to central Paris, then to this girl's apartment, and then being really afraid of I've never met her before, and she's never met me before. Like, what happens if we totally don't get along? Right? This is where I'm staying for the next 3 days of my life. Just sort of like putting my life in fate's hands. So that's like the first story that I would relate to. It's just this. Imagine just being utterly and completely lost and just having to find your way around. So of course that worked out well. And then later in the trip, I was in Amsterdam, and so I got into Amsterdam in the evening and went directly to the hostel and went to bed. And so I didn't have a good sense of what Amsterdam was or what it was like or what it was all about, the layout or anything. Because it was dark. I took the train right from the train station to central Amsterdam, and the hostel I was staying in was really close. So the next morning I get up and I go to a coffee shop, and I'm there for a little bit. I'm reading a newspaper in there, and I walk out. I walk onto the street, and everything is everywhere. Like, if you've ever been to Amsterdam, everything is everywhere all the time. There's literally, you walk out onto the street and there's people walking, there's bikes, there's trams, there's cars, and it's seemingly zero organization to any of this. Everything is everywhere. Just intermingling, cars going one way, cars going another, people walking in the middle, there's bikes in the middle, there's trams in the middle, just stuff everywhere. And I just remember being like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I am totally lost here. I had to so there's all these canals, right, in Amsterdam. I literally had to just walk to the closest park bench and stare at the water for like 2 straight hours. To get my bearings. Because I was so scared. I was like, how am I going to survive this? Like, other places were orderly. I thought Northern Europeans were like orderly and rule followers, but like everything was everywhere. I had no idea what to do. So it took me a couple minutes to gather myself. Then I went to the Van Gogh Museum. Everything was okay after that. Once I got to see Van Gogh, everything mellowed out. But it was that will never forget that experience of being like so utterly afraid because everything was everywhere and I had no idea how to navigate it. So then fast forward, I had this wonderful experience of being lost and afraid in Europe, and I decided that I had to continue to be lost and afraid in my life. That was something that was really important to me. That was might seem like, why would you want to be lost and afraid? But for me, there was a lot of thrill and excitement in that, and so I decided that from that experience, I needed to do the Peace Corps. That I needed to be part of the Peace Corps. And I can remember before leaving. So I did the Peace Corps in Kyrgyzstan, and if you don't know where Kyrgyzstan is, it is the middle of Asia. It's literally Central Asia. It is exactly halfway across the world from where we are currently sitting. It's the western edge of China. If you don't know where Kyrgyzstan is, you probably don't know where Kazakhstan is, or Tajikistan, or Afghanistan. Well, Afghanistan, maybe that's in the news. So it's like north of Afghanistan, in that area of the world, right? But I can remember like going to going away parties for myself before going to the Peace Corps, and drawing maps for people of where Kyrgyzstan was. And my maps were totally inaccurate. Like I had done zero research about this country, or about where it was, or about the culture, or about the people. I had done no research. With that, I know we have about 10 minutes. So I'll end with that, and maybe we can open the floor to questions or anything that you guys might want to do in the last 10 minutes. So yeah, that's my talk. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Sullivan.
You need to tell them the turkey story.
That chicken story?
The chicken story.
All right.
Please tell them the chicken story.
Okay. Have any of you heard of this? Maybe the students here? So I guess I told, this must have been, 3 or 4 years ago now. I actually told that as my speech to the National Honor Society inductees. That was part of my speech. So this I will have to stand up for. So this is part of being here. So when you do the Peace Corps, generally you're there for 2 years and 3 months. And the first 3 months that you're there is a training period, right? And that's where you're learning language, you're learning culture, you're living with the host family. And the way that was set up in Kyrgyzstan is you have 5 hours of intense language class in the morning, and then you're expected to then in the evening practice with your host family. But my story is about before we had any language training. And the first night that I met my host family, the people that I was going to live with for the next 3 months. So we had this like big soiree, this big party to meet our host families, and I'm legitimately the first American that these folks have met. They've never met another American before. So I'm the ambassador for our entire country. So we're
no pressure.
So we have this huge meal, right? We have this huge meal at this restaurant. I meet my host family, and we eat a ton. We come back, and of course, in Kyrgyz culture, they're super hospitable. So there's a whole second meal, right? There at the house that I'm still expected to eat, right? And eat fully. And so we sit down, we have the second meal, and we're trying to talk to each other. They know zero English. I know zero Kyrgyz.
So good.
My host father had been like a traffic guard in East Germany. So he knew like 3 words of German, and I had studied German in college. So that wasn't working either. Like, all he knew was ja and nein and halten Sie bitte. And that was all the German that he knew, right? Because he was a traffic guard, right? In East Germany, back in the Soviet Union. So we can't talk to each other. But I'm an inquisitive guy. Anyone who has taken my class knows that we start every class with having an open and curious mind, and I like to think that I've always lived my life that way. So I'm trying to talk, right? And so my host family was like, okay, well, let's go out, and they live on a little farm. And so they're like, let's show him where we live, and we'll teach him the words there. So we're out, we're talking, we're in the backyard, they're showing me stuff, and pointing to trees, and pointing to cows, and they're telling me the Kyrgyz word for this, and I'm repeating the Kyrgyz word. And so, they had this big pile of corn, like dried corn in the backyard. And so they tell me, jugaru, that's the Kyrgyz word for corn. And then they're like, chickens. And the chickens running around and tok, so that's the Kyrgyz word for chicken. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, I've got this. I'm gonna ask a question now. And so I'm gonna ask, like, do the chickens eat corn? But I only know chicken and corn. Those are the only 2 words that I know. So I say chicken and I say corn. And I'm like, jugaru, tok, jugaru, tok, jugaru. And they're like looking at me. They're like, what is this guy doing? And so I'm like, okay, clearly they don't understand me. So I'm like, I better act this out. So here I am, like down, like saying chicken, corn, chicken, corn, chicken, chicken, corn, chicken. And I'm like, and my host family is like, this guy is an idiot. We got like the reject American. We got 66 Americans. Right? We could have any of these 66 Americans. We get the guy who acts like a chicken in our backyard. And so about a year later, so I was only with this host family for 3 months, and about a year after that, I had been living in my village. I was teaching. I'd learned Kyrgyz over that course of time. And I went back and I visited this host family. I was in the capital city, and I went back and I stayed with them for a night. And I can remember over dinner where we're speaking Kyrgyz, and my host father saying to me, "You're a lot smarter than we thought you were." Because we can talk to one another, man. I was always this smart. We just couldn't talk to one another. So that's just another story about being lost, right? Utterly and completely lost, and just having to figure it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Imagine finding a house in Paris.
I think, I can't remember now. It might have been just sheer dumb luck. Eventually, I guess I got, so the street itself was on that little map. I mean, it was literally in the center of Paris. I just had to basically I had to figure out how to get to the map. And then once I could get to the map, I could find it. So it was, I think, basically what I was doing is I was walking in like concentric circles, like moving out from itself until I could find a street that was on the map. And then I knew what direction, like, this is going to sound like MacGyver or something. I mean, you guys don't do MacGyver.
I do.
Oh, yes. So I had to figure out whether it was morning or evening to figure out what was east or west.
Yes.
And then figure out which direction down the street I needed to go to get to the center of Paris. So that, essentially, like, have any of you guys ever done, like, orienteering? So it was essentially like urban orienteering, right? You got this location, you've got a topographical map, but you don't necessarily know where you are on the map, and then you have to find, like, using locations that you can figure out. So it was essentially urban orienteering, and eventually I got there, yeah, eventually.
Well, that's a piggyback to this. Did you purposely not get a taxi?
I couldn't afford a taxi. I was on a shoestring. Literally, I had enough money to buy like potatoes and noodles, pretty much every. So I had to stay in hostels that had kitchens. This was not like I was eating I wasn't like wine and cheesing my way through Europe. I was eating potatoes and noodles boiled over on a stove. I think I had allotted myself outside of transportation, which was the biggest cost, and hostel stays. I think like 10 euros a day to eat and drink, and so yeah, I couldn't afford a taxi. I had to walk. Yeah, I had to walk. I can remember actually getting in a lot of trouble. This is a bad story. I shouldn't say this, but whatever. I was in Austria, right? You'll know about Austrians. Austrians are like the most rule-following of rule followers, right? Austrians, like, you do not break a rule. And I can remember I didn't have any money, right? So I was jumping on the back of public transportation. I was stealing rides, right? Because if you go in the front of the public transportation, that's where they collect the fares and you have to show them your ticket. But then if you get on the back where everyone's exiting, you can like sneak on, and an Austrian traffic officer caught me.
Oh my God.
And was like, that's a 55 euro fine. And I heard him say $5.50 fine. I was like, oh sure, I'll pay that. And I take out $5.50 and he looks at me and he's like, no, that's 55. And he's like, you're an idiot, get off that. just get off the train. You just let me go. Like, you're so dumb. I'm not even going to require you to pay this fine. So I got lucky, but yeah, I couldn't afford anything. So I was like barely making it through, stop to stop.
Well, you and I talked about our, abroad experiences. What would come about a couple of the biggest challenges during your 2 years in the Peace Corps?
So it would be easy to say stuff like food or like lack of indoor plumbing or sporadic electricity. Like those would be the easy things to say. But of course this is all about making difficult decisions, not going with the easy stuff. Actually the hardest thing was things that having to accept things that I found morally wrong because that was part of the culture that I was in. That was the most difficult thing to me. So I remember vividly, again, as a classroom teacher, I remember vividly having some real problems with a couple of boys in my class. They just wouldn't listen to me, wouldn't do anything. So I can remember like asking some of the women who taught in the school to come down and help me deal with these boys. So they brought them back with me to the teacher's room and they beat them with sticks. Like took sticks and were hitting them in the legs and hitting them in the back and covering their heads and them in the arms. That's the that was like the toughest stuff to deal with. I never sent another kid to the principal's office. All discipline was dealt with in house. But then to it's of course I never accepted it and I expressed how shocked I was at that with my counterparts, but then I also have to accept the fact that I'm not in where I'm from. I don't get to call the shots here. I'm not the one who's the arbiter of morals here. That's not I'm the outsider. So that was really tough, I think, to deal with, and seeing things like that and how those sorts of things. That was the toughest for me.
And thank you
All right.
so much for talking. That was amazing.
Yeah.